Since the signing of the executive order by President Trump, Friday, January 27, 2017, to ban foreigners from 7 predominantly Muslim countries from entering in the states, has not only provoked Americans to protest against the Muslim ban, but Americans that practice the Muslim faith are experiencing Islamophobia within the communities they live. Well, southern states are no stranger to race-related controversies. Augusta, Georgia's very own Farmhouse Burger, located in the downtown district of Augusta's nightlife and business sector, has recently encountered a discrimination claim pursued by a former employee, Lacey Enevoldsen.
The Islamic Society of Augusta, that whole community there, when I put on hijab, they were very concerned for me, because one of the big things, they were like, did anybody tell you you have to put it on? I was like, no. And they were like, okay, well, if you don't want to wear it, you can take it off, and nobody's going to say anything. I'm like, yes, I understand. Because they knew what I was coming my way, and it's because they know when people see that, before they even see your face, before they hear your name, before they hear you speak, they know your religion, they know what you stand for, they know so much about you in just one glance. And they know so much, but they don't really know that much. They just know what's been very easily fed through things like the media and things that have been very easily misconstrued. I felt the need to go to them because I knew, at least I had never heard of or seen another Muslim employee at all their restaurants. I had never seen a hijabbed Muslim employee in any of their restaurants. And I didn't want to step on their toes. I didn't want to confuse them. I didn't want to make them feel like I was trying to, throw them off or anything in any way. And so I wanted to make sure they really understood what I was doing, why I was doing it, and had a clear understanding just to avoid any conflict. I wanted to be as professional and ethical about it as I could. And so I approached one of the owners, the wife of Sean Wight, Crystal Wight, and I was like, hey, when you have a moment, I'd like to speak to you. And we went in the office. And at that point, I wasn't wearing hijab at work, but I was wearing turtlenecks under my shirts, and I was wearing looser pants and things like that. So I was wearing everything but the scarf. And I informed her, I was like, I informed her that I had said my shahada, which is just the proclamation of faith, which makes you a Muslim, and that at this point, it is my obligation that I wish to fulfill to wear the hijab. And at that point, I was aware that legally I was in the full legal right to do so. So it wasn't necessarily me asking to wear it, it was more of I'm giving you the option to give input on exactly how I wear it.
Just as black men are stereotyped as threatening, according to American Physiological Association's John Wilson, Muslims and Middle Easterners wearing hijabs are seen in the same light. How has discrimination changed you in a way, now that it's being reflected on you?
Makes me a lot more proactive in everything. Because it's like one of those things, like you see it in the news, like across the country. I didn't expect it in Augusta, Georgia, my hometown and stuff like that. And I never expected to be on the other side of it either. I never planned to be a hijab wearing Muslim woman and, be of any target of discrimination. If anything, I was kind of like, before I put on hijab and things like that, I was like their little star child of the restaurant, and it was, always getting praise, and that one thing changed. And so it just makes you more understanding of everybody. And I kind of don't doubt people when they say something's happened. I'm just like, well, yeah, you're probably right. You've given adequate information and evidence, so I believe you, because there's plenty of people that when I came forward, you're like, well, I don't believe you. And that was a fight for a while until CARE did take on my case. A lot of people not seeing the validity of my statements, thinking that I was maybe chasing a check, or that I was just making it up because I wanted attention, or that my religion wasn't valid. It was just some white girl throwing out some new thing, trying to do something to get attention. And it was the most frustrating experience, because it wasn't even just the initial discrimination, then it was just the amount of doubt from people that when I was presenting facts, I'm like, I didn't expect it. I was very naive, because I expected no backlash when I should have expected a lot, but I expected no backlash because I was like, well, I'm telling the truth, So it's like, why would I get backlash for it's just like, yeah, this happened 5 minutes ago. This is what happened. I didn't expect people to argue when I was like, yeah, well, here's my proof too. Not that I thought I would need so much proof to say something when I've never, you know what I mean? It's just like, what? It's like, I don't get it.
Since the 9/11 terrorist attacks linked to Al-Qaeda, an organization of Muslim extremists, Americans have gained a tainted perception towards Muslims and Middle Easterners. To help clarify and debunk misconceptions of Muslims and Arabs, Taji Elmore, an Arabic language professor at Augusta University, sat down within the Islamic Society of Augusta to explain.
I think the biggest misconception about the Arabic culture is the inability to appreciate that Arab people are just like any other people, like anywhere else in the world. Arabs go through daily life as any other people do, regardless of any cultural differences.
So when I reverted to Islam, Nation of Islam is actually a little bit different. They're like a subsect. But when I reverted to Islam's kind of the whole, you have like the Sunni, Shia, Ahmadiyya, all those. When I reverted to Islam, I didn't say anything at first. They had seen me. I was outside of work wearing hijab before I reverted, actually. I would just, because I was going to the mosque so much, I would just kind of have the scarf in my car, and I was very regularly wearing it. Sometimes it'd be on when I went to the grocery store, so whatever. And then occasionally I'd be coming in on my off time when I wasn't on the clock, and I would be in hijab. And my coworkers didn't really say anything about it. A couple of them asked me about it, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I've just been studying Islam. And then when I reverted, I was like, yeah, you know, I'm a Muslim. I didn't really feel the need to make some big announcement or anything like that. And my coworkers, they didn't really. They're like, okay, cool, you know, whatever, that's that.
Human evolution is still happening, even within the minds of young adults.
Let's start with me, like, prior to, like, age 25. Like, I gradually grew out of this. I would call it, like, a stage of immaturity, because I used to be very racist and homophobic and all of that stuff. But once I got to college, I opened up and started talking to people and realized, oh, none of those stereotypes are true. These people are actually really nice. And I got to know these people better.
We have our 5 daily prayers, and then like Sunnis pray the 5 times a day. Shia do combined prayers. You'll have 3. And they do like the morning prayer, and then they combine the 2 afternoon prayers, and they combine the 2 evening prayers. That just depends on school of thought. But I mean, they're all the same. Like the morning, each one's different lengths, and that's all like in the Quran and Hadith. And you just follow it based on that. But they all basically have the same things. You bow down, you prostrate. And so you just kind of do the same thing for each one.
Okay.
Saying there's different parts of it. There's parts where you're told what you say, and then there is a portion where you choose what surah from the Quran you recite. It can be any of them. It can be long, short. It can be like the shortest ones, which is what most converts do while you're still learning Arabic, because the proper way to pray is in the Arabic language.
The Arabic language is very rich and expressive. It is, they call it onomatopoeia. It has a different grammar and syntax, and has several addition sounds not found in English. Of course, the script is different as well. I would say that the differences can be difficult a little bit for a native English speaker at the beginning or at first, but definitely achievable to master with hard work.
Like the first 2 weeks of me being a Muslim, I realized very quickly that it was going to be very different than I thought it was, that it was going to be a lot of being on the defense. Even though I hadn't done anything, I was just walking through Kroger and I was just grocery shopping, you know. I knew it was going to be strangers on the street walking up, can I ask you a question? Even though I'm like, I guess I'm a scholar now, which is what I always preface people. I'm like, I'm not a scholar, but sure, go ahead, I'll see what I can do for you. I expected people to be a little bit more accepting, just because I didn't think they would bother people what I, a random person on the street, was doing with my life. But I didn't take into account how misinformed the public had been on so many issues, especially the issue of eating the hijab and what it was. You know, I even had coworkers, and all in good faith, they weren't being rude at all, but they were like, can I ask you a question? I was like, sure. And they're like, are Muslim women oppressed? And And I was like, well, it's just like, yeah, aren't they oppressed? I was like, well, no. Do I look like somebody that would be doing so? I was like, y'all know how headstrong I am. Do I seem like I'd be doing something about oppressed?
Since the historical conflict between Israel and Arabs since 1948 due to religious disputes, maybe the U.S. harbors the same angst towards Arabs and Muslims based solely on their relationship with Israel since 1985 by providing nearly $3 billion in grants to Israel. Well, Molly C., an Arabic foreign language student at Augusta University, gives a brief history lesson from a Christian perspective regarding the brunt of the conflict between Israelis and Arabs.
So Abraham and Sarah are the mother and father of Judaism and in effect Christianity too. And when Abraham was very old, God came to him and said, I promise I'm going to give you your son. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and the promised son never came. So Sarah said, maybe we need to do something. And so she gave Abraham her slave, her Egyptian slave Hagar. And Hagar and Abraham had a baby named Ishmael. And for over a decade plus, he was raised as the son of the promise. But then one day God came back to Abraham and said, I'm going to give you the son I promised through Sarah. Sarah was very old. She was over 90 years old. So that's why they had a hard time believing that it would happen the first time, and she used her slave. But she got pregnant with Isaac. And once Isaac was born, Ishmael was put to the side. And of course, this, as would happen, there's two women in Abraham's life who are competing for their son to be the heir. And so Hagar was making disparaging marks towards Isaac, and she wasn't showing the correct respect to Sarah. And Sarah said, I don't want that slave or her son near my son. You need to get rid of them. And Abraham was upset about it because this was his son. He did care about them. And God said, no, it's okay. Just listen to Sarah. So he took them out and he left them. And I guess after a few days, Hagar cried out to God, and she thought, I can't watch my son die, or something like that she said. And God said, don't worry, he's not going to die. I'm going to make him the father of a great nation. And so from Ishmael came who we know as the Arabs now. And so I guess like all siblings, there's still that fight between the Arabs and the Jews over who owns what and who are the real people of promise.
As Lacey revealed the proclaimed scenarios that took place at Farmhouse Burger, she also introduced the one man that was there through it all.
I actually met him because I was training him, and like the first time though, I didn't really know that who he was. Like the first time he tried to talk to me, I was talking to a customer behind the bar about something, and he like jumped in the conversation, just kind of gave his 2 cents, trying to be a normal person and take part of the conversation. But I just looked at him and said nothing, and then answered the customer as though he didn't exist. And I just kept going like he meant nothing. And then I didn't talk to the dude again until the day I was supposed to train him. I didn't know I was training him. I was doing all my opening work, and he was just standing on the other side of the counter just talking to me like a normal person, and I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. And then we were open, so I was like, all right, expected the conversation to end and this kid that I blew off not that long ago to go away. But I then turned around and he was behind the bar, and I just said, do you need something? Like, I kind of got really rude. And he was like, well, you're training me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I started training him, and then we ended up just talking all the time after that. And I got his number because me and him and this other guy were all gonna go hang out because we were all about the same age. And so I just like literally just told him, I said, Kevin number, and I just pointed at a piece of paper, and then I kept doing my stuff mopping. I was so mean to him for no reason. Like, it sounds so much worse when I say it, and it's just because I just didn't know anything about him. And then like we all three went and hung out, but then I just me and him just ended up to keep texting. And at one point, he would every single week text me and ask, what's the schedule? Do you have the schedule for next week? And I would send it to him, And you know, now I realize I'm like, and then we would just talk. I'd send it to him, and then we'd talk for like the next 3 days straight, like nonstop. And then by the time we stopped talking, the next schedule was out. Do you have the schedule? And so I was just like, he could have gotten the schedule from anyone else. The schedule was posted at work. It was just how we kept things going. We ended up going, before we had started dating, we went and watched the It movie, which he did not want to see, but I wanted to see. And so I was like, well, go with me. We went and watched it. And then we ended up standing in the parking lot afterwards for a solid like 30 minutes just talking. And we're like, well, let's go get food, so we're not just standing in a parking lot like creeps. We went to a Mexican restaurant, we got our food, we stayed there till almost closed, and we're like, well, we should leave because we know how annoying it is when people stay this late. And so we left, and then we were in that parking lot talking until all the workers left. And it was like super late, and we're like, yeah, well, we both have to work this morning, so let's go home. And we just kept Clover, and we just kept talking, and then I ended up, and I like, now that I look back at it, I was so stupid. Like he very clearly tried to make it clear he was interested, but I did not think he was at all. I thought we were just like straight chilling, like regular people, but I ended up being like, well, I want to date him. And so I just decided to, and I just texted him while he was at work. I was like, hey, let me know when you have a minute. And I knew he was at work. It was on a Friday night, and he texted me back in like 2 seconds. He was like, okay, I'm free now. What? And I was like, yeah, so do you want to go on an actual date sometime? So I ended up asking him out. And I planned our date. We went on a date, and then we just never...
So you was the third one.
I was a little scared. Because I was like, at the beginning, I was like, don't talk to me. And then at the end of it, I was like, hey, give me your number. We're going on a date. Let's do that. I was gonna say, it's been like 2 years now. I was gonna say, and we, you know, hang out 24/7, and we're like best friends. But it was really funny because I met him at Farmhouse and he was there like when Sean took me into the office and said all the stuff he did. You know, he saw it. He saw a lot of the discrimination happen. He watched my hours decline. Like he was there for all of it, you know. And right after I left, it was just a matter of weeks before he left too.
I know he's not here, but how did he feel about that whole? How did everything?
He was furious. He was really mad because
is he Muslim too?
He doesn't really disclose his religion publicly, but he was not raised Muslim or anything like that. And like when I introduced the idea that I wanted to be Muslim to him, he really knew nothing about Islam. He grew up in a very strict like Christian community where like it's here in Augusta. I don't want to name it because I don't want to be rude, but like a very strict Christian community where the school is also associated with your home life, and you know, the teachings are everywhere. You kind of can't escape it. And so he just wasn't really practicing anything like that. And because of that, he also had a very skewed view of what Islam was, because of what he had been told by this community. And, you know, then I popped up and was like, hey, is it cool if I like take my shahada? He was there when I said my shahada, you know, and he still knew nothing about it. He just kind of trusted, because he knew how much I researched religions. He just trusted that I knew what I was doing with it, and that I wasn't going to this ignorant, and he figured that I obviously saw the things that would need to be seen for me to join it. And so he was very supportive.
What was your life like before you converted to the Muslim faith?
Nothing too unique. You know, I was raised Southern Baptist, being from South Carolina. You know, my mom was a Southern Baptist pastor. Family, you know, brought me up in a Southern Baptist church. So I was pretty well grounded in terms of like the typical morality that, you know, most people would have, which isn't too different from my faith now either. And so that influenced, you know, a lot of how I did things and how I practiced things. You know, I was never too wild, so it's not like it was too much of a crazy conversion from one to another. But it definitely was very different because I feel like the way I was raised and in the area I was raised in, there was definitely a lot of bias and misinformation that was communicated to me from a young age about the Islamic community and the Islamic faith. But when I was raised, my family, you know, we were at church every Sunday, Wednesday night, things like that. I didn't necessarily participate in terms of my full self. You know, I went, I volunteered, I did all the things, kind of being like the good kid, just like my parents wanted. Once I hit around the middle school years, though, is when I kind of backed off from religion. I was like, you know, I kind of can't get behind this idea, and specifically this idea of the Christian God and the way it was portrayed in the biblical sense. With Islam, it was very random the way I kind of came across it. I've always, like in high school, was something, it was almost a pastime to study religions. That was just my fun thing to do. So I would I had one computer class in high school, and I would do all our work at the beginning of the week, usually finish it by the end of the day Monday, so the rest of the week I could use the computer for whatever I wanted. There was one specific website where you could select multiple religions and it would set them up in a table and compare and contrast different topics that you wanted to do, so that's how I learned about a lot of them.
You really are interested in gaining an understanding of a lot of things, aren't you?
Oh yeah, no, I love it. It's one of those things like Mary of Galilee and the Mass, what the Mass is. It's just like, I can't say I believe something if I don't know why I don't believe something else.
Yeah.
I think that would be arrogant, I think it'd be ignorant, and it'd be disrespectful to the thousands of years of religions that have existed. And Hinduism, it's like the world's oldest religion. Why don't I believe Hinduism? It's just like, how can I look at a Hindu and be like, well, yeah, you're wrong if I don't know why I don't believe in what they do. And even in that case, like when you study it, you realize they're not necessarily wrong, that you still, even with Hinduism, there's still similarities in your religion. It's just that people over time, we've taken a different interpretation of a lot of things. And at the end, a lot of the religions, it's all teaching the same thing, and just different wording with different prophets in different times. Yes, religion's serious, but it's not as divisive as people make it. There's no need for it to divide really anything, because you're all trying to reach a same goal. I have not found a religion yet that does not promote being a good person and trying to connect with a creator or creators of some kind by humbling yourself, by doing good deeds, by trying to be pure. And whether that sense of purity can be different from religion to religion, but at the core of that, it's purifying yourself through just trying to be the general knowledge of good and serve others and just treat with compassion usually.
If you are a Muslim that has experienced discrimination or harassment, contact your local care office to seek legal representation and to report an incident by visiting www.care.com. Or you can personally contact them by dialing 202-488-8787.